Welcome back to SouFLoTV again, everybody. It's your host with the most. Man.
Brown, did you ask to be black? No, you didn't ask to be black.
I should start off by saying that Donald Tapia is so delusional.
You did not see it in China whenever they took the African Americans and took them out of their apartments, put them on the street, put up signs that says African Americans are not welcomed here. You have not seen that in the U.S. But you saw it in China this year. You saw it in China. But you don't see these things. But the press kind of glasses over it. Because the fact is, Communist China has one of the greatest propaganda organizations in the world. In the world. They actually buy ads in your paper. So, of course, by buying ads in the paper and so forth, I enjoyed it when I first got here that they took some of the reporters from here. They took them to China. They paid their way there, gave them a nice time, and they talked about religious freedom. We talked about press freedom, freedom of the press. Do you really believe that? Do you really believe that there's freedom of the press in China? If you believe that, you need to pull your head out of the sand because all you need to do is the research. You don't hear them talk about the 1 million Muslims that they have in northern China. In my time, we would have called it a concentration camp. We can't call it a concentration camp today because we're not in a war. We're not restricting people. But they call it a re-education camp. 1 million Muslims that they have, and they call it a re-educational camp. What are they re-educating them to? We know what slavery is. You know what it is. And that's exactly what is taking place with the Muslims. You came out of it. The U.S. came out of it. Yes, we have our problems. Yes, we have a racial problem. But there's one thing that I can say, and I say to all. I'm a brown person because I'm a Mexican. When I look at my color, I didn't ask to be brown. Did you ask to be black? No, you didn't ask to be black. God made us the color that we are. But we need to join together and be one. We cannot continue to say we need to do away, or we need to restrict the black community over here, or we need to restrict the white community over here. No, we need to not restrict any community. In Minnesota, that was terrifying to me to see that police officer with his knee against that person's neck. Different ethnic group that took place there. It should never have happened. Never should something like that happen. And we're paying the price for it.
I'm not worried, but I'm concerned that maybe he's an elder person that is speaking with a touch of Alzheimer's or dementia, or probably there's a slight case of amnesia going on here. He asked, now this is a attempt to demonize China or throw China under the bus to save face. Okay? It's like if I show you the bad things about this guy over here, then you won't have time to see the bad things that I'm doing, kind of thing. And the thing is that to see him sit there and say these things, like for instance, he asked, did you ask to be black? No, you did not ask to be black. I did not ask to be brown. Well, damn, I thought you were white all along. You understand? How can you equate being Mexican with being black? There is no race of people called Mexicans. You understand? There's no race of people called Mexicans. And I can tell you from personal experience, and a lot of people who live in Miami, Florida right now can tell you, if they've lived there for a couple of decades, can tell you about Hispanics, particularly Cubans, and those from Mexico who are of the European persuasion, who easily pass as that. And they hold stereotypical racially motivated views that are not positive about black people and the black community as a whole. I don't know if you understand the depths of what he just said. I did not hear the entire conversation or the entire speech that he gave, but I saw enough as it was printed online by the Gleaner. And for him to ask a question, imagine this. This white man, this old white man is sitting there asking if you've ever seen any of this in America. And he referred to and he said that the press, the media downplays it. China's media, their propaganda angles, they downplay it, but they're able to hide their mistreatment of blacks. He talked about an event that recently happened where the Africans in China were put out of their apartments, out into the streets, and started putting up signs around the place that said blacks are not welcome here. That happened this year in 2020, right? It was China's effort to rebrand COVID-19 or Corona as a black disease, to shift blame from the world saying this is a Chinese-made disease. China is messing up the world with this disease. Who better to throw the blame on than the people who are most hated across the globe by all establishments, black people? So China went ahead and tried to do that. And this is what Tapia is talking about. However, for him to sit there and to ask the question if we have ever seen any of that in the US, and to answer his own questions by saying, no, you have not. It depends on who you're asking that, Mr. Tapia. I might not have seen it in my time, but my grandparents have seen it. There are people who are of grandparents' age, just like you are, Mr. Tapia, that lived through that. And they have seen it. The systemic or systematic racism has changed its face. So they no longer have to put signs on doors that says blacks are not welcome. They do it in a different way now. A stroke of a pen. Hired, fired, throw the interview, throw the application in the garbage, disregard, will never hire, that kind of stuff. Even when they go before a judge. And we can talk about the prison system in the US, where disproportionately black people who commit the same crimes that white people do get far more time for the same crimes. Hence, we have the black population in the US being only a small percentage of the entire makeup of the US. Yet still, they make up the greater population of prisons. And it's not because they are more criminal-minded. It is because of how the system is set up. I'm just worried. I am a Jamaican that is living overseas, and I've been in the United States of America since I was a child. Okay? And I am worried that, come on, look at his position. Look at who he is. He is the ambassador, right, to the United States of America in Jamaica. And he is able to sit there and say these things unchallenged. Now, Sarah Hannah says, Kokeko, a pot. This is the old sleight of hand trick. Point out someone else to cover your own faults. The sad truth of how poorly blacks are treated is coming to light more each day. I read recently that it is written in their laws that blacks should not be sold houses in some suburban areas, and that's been happening since the 50s. It just has not been enforced in recent years, but when you see the residents telling their black neighbors they do not belong there, they're not lying. And when they call the police because there are blacks in their community, you know, like because he's out here jogging, so he must be dangerous. Black man cannot be around here jogging. There's no way they're into fitness and health. He must have just robbed one of these houses around here. Call the police, right? So when you see their neighbors telling them that they do not belong in that neighborhood, it is because they're not lying. It is because it was written into their laws, right? Telling their black neighbors they don't belong there, because blacks in their communities, it's what they've been passed down for generation. Now, instead of running away to foreign countries, maybe it's time that we Jamaicans build up and invest in our own country. Time to show some pride in the black, green, and gold and make Jamaica great again. I understand that part, and that person was on the right track until they got to the part where they said, instead of moving away to foreign countries, maybe it's time that we stay in Jamaica and make Jamaica great again. Well, I don't agree with that, because there are a lot of Jamaicans that are living overseas right now who can tell you that had they not gotten that opportunity to go live overseas, they would not have been able to accomplish all that they have, because their family in Jamaica simply could not find that way. They didn't have that kind of money. They don't have that kind of links, and that is how the place is ran. And we know this, right? So for us to say build up Jamaica by all of us staying there and never going overseas, but we must also look at the real issue is that Jamaica is a scary place for a lot of people. A lot of its citizens are afraid. Those who are not afraid probably live in the upper echelons where they are well protected, okay? Majority of the people have to deal with over 1,000 people being killed every year. They have to deal with the upsurge in violence, the gun violence. They have to deal with the murders. Every Jamaican knows someone who's had a family member that has been murdered. So it's hard. It's like being caught between a rock and a hard place, you know? Leave your comments in the comments section below. Tell me what you think about this one. My opinion of this whole thing is Donald Tapia has no room to talk. And if you're going to compare the history of how blacks have been treated throughout history, compare it to China and how Chinese have treated blacks throughout history, who has contributed greater to the destruction of black families and black people on a whole across the globe, China versus the US, then you cannot sit there with a straight face and point a finger at China while waving your American flag. Leave your comments in the comment section below. I'm out. Don't fall for the okie doke. Peace.